Good morning and welcome to the Standards Committee taking place on Friday the 25th of June 2021. The meeting is being broadcasted live through our YouTube channel. Before we commence with today's formal business, I would like to cover some housekeeping issues for all of us to follow. Could I ask everyone to switch off or make silent their mobile phones, please? Will you note that measures are in place for social distancing? If you need to leave the room at any point, please use the doors to the left or to the right of the room and re-enter using the middle doors. Please ensure that you wear a face mask if you need to move around. Face masks can be removed when seated. Please keep microphones switched off at all times unless invited to speak by the chair. When invited to speak, please switch on your microphone nearest to you and introduce yourself. Moving on to the agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence.
Chair, we've had apologies from Councillor Leslie Maven and Parish and Town Council representatives Terry Batson and Ralph Harrison.
Thank you. Moving on to item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Moving on to item 3, minutes of the meeting held on the 3rd of March 2021. Does any member have any comments on these minutes? Can I have a mover and seconder for the minutes, please?
I'll second them, Chair.
Thank you.
I'll second them.
So that's Councillor Atkinson and Councillor Savory. We all agreed? Move on to item 4, committee work programme. And Camilla Coulson-Patel, Governance Solicitor, will take this item.
Good morning, members. I'm Camilla Coulson-Patel, the Governance Solicitor, and I'll be presenting a series of reports for you this morning. The first report to be presented is the committee work programme for 2021-2022. which is shown at pages 7 through to 14 of your report pack. The terms of reference for the Standards Committee is set out in Article 7 of the Constitution and are detailed within the report in front of you at paragraph 5. The terms of reference for the Standards Committee form the foundation for the work programme, which is reviewed on an annual basis to set the agenda for the Standards Committee. The Standards Committee reviewed the progress against the work programme for 2020-2021 at its meeting on the 3rd of March 21. As we have new members to the Standards Committee today, for information, a copy of the work programme for 2020-2021 is shown at Appendix 2 of the report, together with a summary of what was considered, and that is shown at paragraphs 7 through to 9 of your report. Today, the Standards Committee are asked to agree the work programme for the municipal year. A copy of the draft work programme is shown at Appendix 3 of your report. The work programme provides the committee with the number of key items to be reviewed throughout the year, as well as standing agenda items. Members will see that it is proposed that there will be a review of the Code of Conduct complaints procedure to ensure that the procedure remains fit for purpose, legally compliant and consistent with best practice. This review will also include the process for rejecting complaints, including those which are considered vexatious. In addition to that, it's proposed that this is a timely opportunity to review the appointment for co-opted members to the Standards Committee from Town and Parish Councils for a procedure to be agreed for the future appointment. Also, member development and training, as it is considered a cornerstone in promoting high ethical standards, it is proposed that the member induction programme is evaluated during the course of this year. it is recognised there is flexibility in the work programme should other matters arise throughout the year, such as it is anticipated that the government will publish its response to the Committee for Standards in Public Life's report on ethical standards. The recommendations are that the Standards Committee is recommended to note the progress against the work programme approved on the 13th of March 2020 for 2021-2022, comment on the draft work programme for 2021-22 shown at Appendix 3 of the report, and agree the work programme for 2021-22. Chair, that is the report. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Camilla. Are there any questions? Can we all agree? Thank you. Can we move on to item 5, appointment of independent persons to the Standards Committee? And again, it's Camilla.
Thank you. This report is to provide an update to the Standards Committee on the recruitment of 2 independent persons to the committee. The report is shown at pages 15 through to 32 of your report pack. The Localism Act sets out the requirements in relation to local government standards, and it requires the appointment by the authority of at least 1 independent person. The functions of the independent person in relation to standards are set out at paragraph 7 of your report. In Durham, the practice has been to have 2 independent persons, which is considered best practice. The 2 existing independent persons' term of office expires in September of this year. On the 20th of January 2021, the Council considered a report which set out proposals to recruit 2 new independent persons to the Standard Committee. The report also sought an amendment to the term of office for the independent persons of 2 years, with the option to extend up to a maximum of 2 further years, in accordance with best practice. The recruitment process, which was agreed by Council, is shown at paragraph 12 of the report. And the application pack, which was used, is shown at Appendix 2. There were 7 candidates interviewed for the role, and the candidates were asked a series of questions to test their suitability for the role against the criteria set out in the person's specification. The recruitment panel, made up of the monitoring officer, deputy monitoring officer and chair of the Standards Committee at the time, decided to recommend Alan Foster and Kaylee Louise Wilkinson for appointment as independent persons to the Standards Committee. Both candidates demonstrated that they met the criteria for the role, had a good understanding of the role, and an enthusiasm to support the Standards Committee in upholding high ethical standards. Subject to Council approving their appointment, the independent persons will be appointed for 2 years, commencing on the 22nd of September 2021. It is proposed the Council delegates authority to the Standards Committee to consider whether to extend the appointments for a further 2 years in 2023. If the committee decides to extend the appointments, this would then be reported as part of the annual report to Council in that year. In the event that the committee decide not to extend the term, the Council will be asked to approve a full recruitment exercise. For information, I can confirm that once appointed, the independent persons will be receiving an induction training with both the monitoring officer and myself, and they will also be invited to attend the Standards Committee with an expectation that they attend at least 2 meetings during the year. Chair, the recommendations are set out in paragraph 6 of the report, and I'll take any questions that members may have.
Thank you. Councillor Stubbs.
The 2 previous independent people, did they come to the end of the term of office, or was there other reasons why they left?
Yes, their term of office did actually expire last year, but due to the emergency powers that we had to enact, we were able to extend their term of office by a further 1 year. It wasn't possible to hold a standards committee to extend it. It should have actually come to an end last year. So it is simply best practice recommends that it should be for 4 years, and for that reason we will be looking to reappoint these two candidates I've presented to you today.
Thank you.
Councillor Atkinson.
Just a quick one, just how did we come to the decision that we only needed them to attend 2 meetings?
There isn't a set requirement or expectation set out in the legislation for independent persons to attend a minimum amount of meetings, and it isn't something that we've stipulated previously, but it would be considered certainly that there is an expectation that they attend a minimum of 2 meetings. As a standards committee, we do hold 4 meetings generally during the municipal year, and I would hope that we can encourage certainly the independent persons to attend on a more frequent basis if their diaries accommodate.
Sorry, we move on to item 6, the annual report of the Standards Committee. And again, this is Camilla.
Thank you, Chair. This report is to provide an overview of the work of the Standards Committee during 2020-2021 and set out the future direction which the committee intends to take during the next year. A copy of the report is shown at pages 33 to 32 of your reports pack. Although there is no legislative requirement for Standards Committee to produce an annual report, doing so is recognised good practice. Not only does it publicise the work of the committee to the general public, it also means that the authority itself can monitor the committee's work. The report details the membership shown at paragraph 8 of the report, as well as the independent person shown at paragraph 9, and sets out the role of the Standards Committee at paragraph 13, which you will all be familiar with. The report also outlines the complaints which have been considered during the last year. The breakdown of the Code of Conduct complaints considered is shown at paragraph 16 of your report. In 2020-2021, the number of complaints remained generally consistent with previous years. There was an increase in the number of complaints where local resolution was recommended, and equally there was the same increase observed in the number of complaints referred for investigation. It is noted in the report, paragraph 18, that future reporting themes for complaints will be recorded so that emergent trends can be considered. Also, complaints have historically been recorded as one complaint, irrespective of the number of members complained of. To ensure that the Standards Committee and the Council receive an accurate picture in the future as to the number of complaints being considered relating to members, this figure will be broken down further. The report also details the work of the Standards Committee during 2020-2021. During the year, there was disruption to the normal meeting schedule due to COVID-19 restrictions. The committee was able to meet on 2 occasions and received updates on the current status of complaints and the national picture. An informal meeting of the Standards Committee also took place on the 21st of July 2020 for members of the committee and the independent persons to comment on the Local Government Association's Model Code of Conduct consultation. During the year, the committee considered the recruitment process for the independent persons already outlined in the earlier report, and they also considered the adoption of the Model Code of Conduct. The committee noted that the member code of conduct already in place largely reflects the best practice identified by the Committee for Standards in Public Life, and therefore the committee recommended to Council that the code be amended to reflect best practice rather than adopt the new model code. The Standards Committee also recommended updates on the member code of conduct on other relevant interests, which allow members with such an interest to speak but not vote on a relevant item of business to full council for approval. These amendments were approved by full council on the 24th of March 2021. The future work plan is already outlined in the report at paragraphs 24 and 25, and it has been covered in the agreement for the work programme in the earlier report. The recommendations today are that the Standards Committee note the report and that the report is presented to a meeting of the Council in July 2021. Chair, that is the report. I'll take any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Camilla. Just one important point here. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're moving from a system where, with code of conduct complaints, if there was complaints against multiple councillors, it would just be recorded as one complaint, and we're moving to a system where it would be recorded as multiple complaints, reflecting the number of councillors complained. I think it's important that that's really highlighted, that there's a change, because it could show that there's a real spike in the number of complaints, and that could give a wrong impression of the behaviour of ourselves as members now, fellow members in parish and town councils across the county. I think that's really important that when we report this, whether it's to in our reports or even to full council, that is noted. I know we've seen similar problems with changes in the way crime figures are reported by the police, and that's given a false impression, shall we say, of what's happening. So I hope that's done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tinsley. We will make sure that that is reflected in both the reports that we bring to this committee as well as the Council, because we would expect there to be a spike in complaints for that reason. Certainly, as it tallies now, it does appear inconsistent where we have 48 complaints, but we have a greater number of outcomes. So that in itself suggests that there are more councillors being complained of than the number of complaints itself recorded. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? So can we agree to note the report and present to Council in July 2020? All agreed? Thank you. We move on to item 7, Standards National Picture. Again, Camilla.
Thank you, Chair. This is a standard agenda item that we bring to each Standards Committee meeting to highlight some of the issues that are being addressed nationally and code of conduct complaints which are being reported on. Since the abolition of the Standards Board for England, national statistics and case reports are no longer collated. Any cases reported are taken from general research where councils publish details of their code of conduct hearings in public. Today there are 2 reports to bring to your attention. The first one is from Oxfordshire County Council, where a councillor in October 2020, who was also a cabinet member for Highways Improvement, endorsed an offensive tweet during a course of an exchange on social media about cycling. The tweet resulted in 11 complaints from the public. The interim monitoring officer considered the complaints to determine whether there had been a breach of the code of conduct and whether what remedy would be appropriate. The interim monitoring officer took advice from a 2-person members advisory panel in accordance with their local procedure. The advisory panel confirmed their view that a breach of the code had occurred and recommended that the leader be asked to remove the councillor from cabinet and that full council be informed of the matter. Taking into account the views of the advisory panel and the independent person, the interim monitoring officer determined that the actions of the councillor in endorsing the tweet were a breach of the code of conduct. The breach was rendered particularly serious given the status of the cabinet member for Highways and that the councillor had previously been found to be in breach of the code for misuse of social media, and that the leader of the council be recommended to remove the councillor from Cabinet with effect from the 1st of January 2021, and that the full council receive a note on the panel's view. For information, following the issuing of the decision notice, the councillor in this matter resigned from Cabinet. The second Code of Conduct complaint, which has been reported nationally, relates to a complaint considered by Arran District Council relating to a councillor from the parish council. In this case, the council considered 3 complaints. It was alleged that the actions of the councillor at a site visit had inferred to plot holders that the parish council had inferred that a policy regarding the trapping of grey squirrels had been implemented. The complainants also alleged that the councillor had suggested that a plot holder would be imprisoned if they took particular action to deal with the infestation of grey squirrels. The complainants considered that this was a breach of the parish code of conduct, that the councillor was acting in their capacity as councillor at the time, and that suggesting that the policy had been implemented without consultation was a misrepresentation of the parish council. It was found that this councillor had breached the code for a number of reasons. Firstly, for allowing other pressures to deter her from pursuing constituents' casework, the interests of the parish, or the good governance of the authority in a proper manner. It was found that concerns over wildlife became more prominent in this matter, meaning that the councillor was not considering all sides of the issue, and this led to a misrepresentation of the parish council. The councillor, in admitting that the policy had not been agreed, but allowing the public present at the site visit to believe that it had been without consultation, was also considered a breach of the code. It was also found that the councillor accused of the particular conduct had failed to behave in accordance with the council's legal obligations and policies. In that, the parish councillor had stated that the contractor would be breaking the law, or the public, if they would be breaking the law without knowing the facts and allowing the public to believe that this had been agreed. Finally, it was considered that the councillor had failed to treat people with respect by referring to imprisonment penalties, and again, allowing the conversation to become unpleasant and unprofessional. In this instance, the sanctions which were imposed were to publish the findings in respect of the councillor's conduct, for the clerk of the council to report the findings to the parish council for information, to recommend suitable training for the councillor on the code of conduct, to recommend to the parish council to seek a written apology and request that the councillor also issues a written apology to the complainants, and to recommend the approval from the Allotments and Space Committee until apologies have been issued and suitable training received. Chair, that is the report and the recommendations that's shown at paragraph 3. I'll take any questions there may be on that report.
Are there any questions? Can we note the report and request the officers, monitoring officers, to progress the matters referred to and keep the committee updated? We all agree? Thank you. Can we move on to item 8, Code of Conduct update? And again,
Thank you, members. This is the last report I have to present to you today, and it is the update on the Code of Conduct activity within County Durham. Members will see from the report that there have been 14 formal complaints received between the dates of the 24th of February and the 17th of June 2021. In this time, 13 final decision notices have been issued, with the outcome shown at Appendix 2 of your report. Complaints which are rejected are generally not included in these figures. However, we do still report on rejected complaints for information. In this last period, there have been no complaints which have been rejected. The complaints which are currently still under consideration, I'm unable to comment and provide any feedback on. But when decision notices are published, they will be available for inspection and the outcomes will be communicated to this committee through the Appendix 2. Also, this report provides an update on the training which has been delivered. The monitoring officer has delivered mandatory training to new and returning members following the election in May 2021 on the Code of Conduct and social media. In addition to the Durham County Council members, there's also been training delivered to town and parish councillors on the topics of the Code of Conduct and social media on the 7th of June and the 14th of June, respectively. Chair, the recommendations for this report is that members are asked to note the contents of the report, and I'll take any questions members may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Can we note the report then? Thank you. And move on to item 9. I have not been notified of any other business, so that concludes today's business. Thank you very much for your attendance. Can we stay muted until the broadcast is ended? Thank you.